Welcome to the Askew Creek Author Talk. My name is Diane Gallagher. I'm one of the authors from the Askew Creek Bookshop at the Chemainus Public Market. We are here on Vancouver Island. We have 40 authors, all of whom have written, sweated, and poured over at least one book, sometimes many, in order to bring you, the readers, the best possible novel, memoir, poetry, or short story collection, or nonfiction book that they can. And today we're going to be talking to Melanie Cossey. Welcome to you, Melanie, and to our viewers today. For those of you who are viewing us on YouTube, please click like and subscribe and hit the notification button to make sure that you don't miss any of our author interviews. This is the first of a series, and we are going to be presenting lots of our authors for you. But today we have Melanie. So Melanie, let's start off talking about you and your writing in general, and then we'll move on to talking about your book.
Okay.
So when you are writing, does location affect the way you write or what you write about?
It doesn't really affect the way I write, I wouldn't say, or what I write about, but what it does give me is a new perspective. It sort of refreshes me if I can change my location around. I work as an editor, so I'm spending a lot of time in front of my computer in my office. So what I like to do is go around. I have a beautiful studio, and sometimes I like to go out there because it's right down in the garden, and I can look out over the garden as I'm writing, or just I also like to write in a cafe with a notebook. Of course, we can't really do that right now, but I find that like refreshes me from always being on the computer, and the ideas can flow much better.
Right. And I can confirm that you have a beautiful studio, having been there. So when you were growing up, what was your favorite book as a child?
Oh man, I loved all the Pippi Longstocking. I loved Roald Dahl with James and the Giant Peach, and of course Charlotte's Web. I was really into all the Little House on the Prairie books. Basically anything I could get my hands on as a kid. So always reading.
So which of these do you think were the most influential when you picked up your pen and started writing for the first time?
Actually, funny enough, the book that got me to start writing and want to be a writer was a Richard Scarry book,
Oh,
which is more of a like a graphic, like a cartoony, like it's very visual. And I have this memory. I must have been about 5 years old or 6 years old, and I was basically copying word for word in a little notebook, like this whole Richard Scarry book, and I showed it to my dad, and I said, "Look, Dad, I'm going to be a writer. I can write." And once he realized what I was doing, he said, "No, that's no good. You got to make up your own stories. You can't copy other people's stories." So I thought, "Oh, yeah, I think I could do that. I could do that."
what is the first book that you read that you remember making you cry?
Oh, that would have to be Charlotte's Web.
Oh, yeah. I think that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So when you're writing, does your writing energize you or does it exhaust you?
It really depends what stage I'm in. When I first have an idea and I first start a book, I'm like super energized. As I go through, I do something every November, which I don't know how many people are aware of, but it's National Novel Writing Month, shortened down to NaNoWriMo. So I like to participate in that. And what it is you, it's a personal goal more than anything, although the contest is worldwide, and anybody who signs up for it, the goal is to write 50,000 words for the month of November. So when I'm doing Nano, I am just energized, just writing. When I start to get exhausted from writing is more towards the editing stage. and just going over the same material and slogging through and doing the research and trying to make it all fit together and work is what really is exhausting. So yeah, so both.
Yes, I can certainly relate to that. What other authors are you friends with, and how do they help you become a better writer?
Well, I'm friends with you and you're very encouraging. And on the mainland, I just moved here. I'm a new import to Vancouver Island. It'll be 3 years in April. But I left behind a lot of really good writing friends on the mainland when I moved over here. But I'm still in touch with them. One of my really good friends is Leslie, and she is incredible. She started writing late in life. She was a physiotherapist, and she injured herself, so she had to give up her career. So she turned to writing, and I mean, this woman is incredible. She enters all these contests and she wins all these contests, and she's always like, knowing where to submit stuff. So I'm like, oh my gosh, Leslie, how do you do this? So she's super inspiring, and we do writing sprints together as well. Usually, I don't know, we're trying to do it now 3 times a day for half an hour. But aside from that, it's kind of sporadic, but she's my go-to gal when I need to do some sprints.
That's great.
And there's also my friend James from the island, or from the mainland rather. So yeah.
It really helps having other author friends that you can bounce ideas off of and commiserate with, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh, and there's also my friend, how could I forget? My really good friend in New Zealand, Kim. We're always talking about writing every single day.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I think I can guess what the answer to this is, but what was the best money you ever spent as a writer?
Oh, you can guess the answer. Yeah. I'd like to hear what you think, because I don't really know the answer to this. Maybe any editing books, I think. The Chicago manual style, but that's more for my editing job. But it really helps. Gosh, I don't know. I've got some pretty good craft books. Any ones by Donald Moss are really good. Yeah. Or actually, Surrey Writers Conference. That's probably the best money I've ever spent.
Yep, that was my guess.
Yeah.
It was certainly the best money I ever spent.
Yeah, it's incredible. If anybody gets a chance to go, it's online again for 2021. So that's great because it's way more accessible to more. So look for that. Surrey International Writers Conference, siwc.ca, I think is the website.
Yes, it was brilliant this year, or last year, I guess now it is.
Yeah.
What was an early experience that you had where you learned about the power that language holds?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't know. Probably just the power of storytelling. I grew up in a family where that was really valued. We're always going to the library. My dad would recite poetry to us all the time. I used to memorize poetry. So, just being able to have the power to express yourself, to connect with other people through words that are using words as well in creative ways to express themselves. There were really no one experience, just sort of grew up in that environment where it was highly valued.
Right. Do you have many unpublished or half-finished books?
Yeah, I have too many of those. Yeah, I think I have about 8 of them, so, all tucked away in various places that I need to get on, but I just keep thinking of more books and writing more ideas, and the ones that need editing kind of get shuffled to the back burner, but I have to remedy that. I know I have to do.
It's such an easy thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. If there was one thing that you could give up to become a better writer, what would that be?
Probably spending too much time playing games on my phone. I know you're thinking of something more
No, no,
lucrative, but
no, no.
that's it. I mean, I think I could be a better writer if I could stop, having too much downtime. Like playing on my phone, I play backgammon on my phone, but it's great to have the downtime, but I think I take it too far. So I could study more. I really could, and I could write more, and I could edit more of my own stuff. But if not for those games.
Mm. Okay, well, let's talk about your book now. So how about if you give us the title and what genre does it fall into?
Okay, I can do better than give you the title. I can show you my book.
Yes.
It's A Peculiar Curiosity, and it's a Gothic, Victorian Gothic horror.
Mm-hmm. And what drew you to that particular genre?
I would say it all started way back with Shirley Jackson. I love to read Shirley Jackson, any Gothic, Victorian Gothic stories I've always loved, Frankenstein, I mean, anything really. Um, I love the creepy, that's what I like about Gothic horror is it's got the creep factor, whereas other horrors is just more, they can be scared, they can be violent, they can be gory, but Gothic is more psychological, playing on your emotions and dragging you into like this big psychological fear-based storytelling.
Mm-hmm. If you were going to put your book's message into 3 sentences or less, what would that be?
Be careful what you wish for. Yeah.
Um, so when you're writing, or when you were writing this book, did your process of writing change for you?
Yeah, before I had never, this was the first book that, and the last book probably, that I'd ever taken from the idea right to the complete finished product with editing and everything. So what changed for me was really realizing how involved editing is and was. I think I went through about 12 drafts of this book. And then that was before I sold it to a publisher. So then with the publisher, we did like another 4 or 5 more drafts. So, I mean, it was a very intense process, which I think is probably the reason why I haven't jumped into the next book heavily editing it, because it really did take a lot out of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to I had a lot of downtime after that. And after it was published in 2018. So we're coming up just over 2 years because it was published in October. So that whole year after that, I could only write short stories. And I had a flurry of getting short stories published in anthologies that year. But it was just like, I just can't psychologically work myself up to doing that much work in such a big body of work right now. So it took me a long time to decompress from that. So now I'm ready to go tackle another novel, but I don't know how these people that write like a couple of novels a year, I don't know how they can do it.
I know Stephen King is, I mean, he's kind of amazing, but he writes 2,000 words a day and then stops, but still 2,000 words a day is significant. Takes some time to do that. Mm-hmm. When you were writing this book, did you base it on any real people, base any of your characters on any real people? I won't ask you to name names.
um, well, my main guy, actually both of them. So I have two main characters in this book. One is a modern day professor, and the other one is a 19th century curiosity dealer. So both of those men are sort of a glamoration of most of the men in my life that I like to hang out with. Um, so just kind of the way that they talk, the way their interests, their mannerisms, just sort of based on the major male players in my life. So it wasn't any one person. It was just sort of how I perceive, I guess, a general male presence and type.
Mhm. So your novel is based in the Victorian era. What kind of research did you do, and how long did you spend researching before you started working on the actual writing of the book?
Okay, there's a bit of a backstory to this. I learned this early on. So my first book that I tried to write was based in North Vancouver in 1910. And I started writing this, I think it was about 25 years old or so when I started writing this. And that was back before nothing was on the internet was very early days. So there was no real like plethora of information locally that you could access through the internet. I used to go down to the archives in North Van and try to find stuff out about the era that I was writing in. So what I found was I'd start to write my book, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, so she goes over to the sink and did the running water? So I'd stop writing, I'd go down the archives and try to find that out. So from that, I learned I'll never finish a book if I do that. So I went in doing my research, and I did just enough research so that I could write the story. And then when it came to something I didn't know, I just wrote to the best of my knowledge what it was, and then thinking I'll go look it up later. So that allowed me to actually write the whole book. But then when I went to look up stuff, some stuff didn't fit, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to make this fit and work so that it's historically accurate? So I ran into a little bit of trouble there. But the neat thing was when I found something that did absolutely work with everything I'd written, it was just like such a delicious feeling. It's like, oh my God, yes, oh, this works. Look at this. So yeah, so I did. My story is set in England, and I've never been there. So I went on Google Maps and I like walked all around the streets, and I researched like how far would how much time it would take to get from this place to that place if you drove and if you walked. And I just did major research on such a fine level like that. And I also had some friends that lived over there, and they helped me a little bit. And it was difficult to find, like I had to do how a person would travel from like coming over from Haiti to go to Liverpool, but then how would they get from Liverpool down to London, the suburbs of London? So I had some people over there that were helping me navigate the train system from 1865, and what stations were, they go to this station and then transfer and then go to that station, and then they get off here and take a coach. It was really cool.
Yeah, I have to tip my hat to people who wrote especially historical fiction before the internet. I really don't know how people did that. It's just so much easier now.
Yeah.
So what was the most difficult thing about writing the characters that you have in your novel?
The most difficult thing was that I was writing characters that were smarter than me. Because I have a university professor, right? And I'm just, oh my gosh, like, how do I pull this off? So I found that very difficult. Just trying to get the voice right and all his knowledge. I had to keep My friend James that I mentioned earlier, he's like university guy, but I had to keep like phoning him up and going, okay, tell that to me again. Like, how does a university like teachers thing work, and how does this work, and how does this science work, and all that. So it was hard, but I think I did it.
Mhm. No, having read your book, I think you did a really good job of it.
Thanks.
How many hours a day do you write?
Well, that depends. If I'm doing nano, probably about 3 or 4 hours. Right when I do the writing sprints, I do half an hour 3 times a day, so that's an hour and a half. Um, just really depends how much time I have, and I don't write every day. I really go in spurts. So especially if there's like a contest coming up that I want to enter, I'll write. Sometimes I'll write like the whole weekend if I'm doing a short story for a contest.
Mhm.
But it's hard for me to write regularly because being an editor, I have books that come in and then I'll have like a week off or a couple of days off. But I find it's difficult for me to write if I'm editing somebody else's book because I have to dive right into their book and into their story, and I have to keep lots of their details in my head. So if I start on my own project, there's only so much room in my head. So if I start trying to remember my own details from my own novels, it's hard to compartmentalize the two.
Mhm.
So I usually sacrifice my own writing for my clients, which I don't know. I have to find a way not to do that, but so far I haven't.
Yeah, balance is very difficult when you're a writer.
Hmm.
Just a couple of more questions. Do you read your own book reviews?
I do read that. Who doesn't? I do. I like to read them. Sometimes I haven't really got a real nasty one. If I get one that, someone's complained about something, I'll consider it. But then, you can separate the ones that are just kind of like the person really didn't get it. It's not their genre, and that's fine. I'll just laugh them off. I mean, if they're bad, like, I don't know. It I don't have too many bad ones. I'm lucky so far, but I don't know. You can't take them too seriously because everybody's got their own views and everybody has something good to say or something bad to say, and you can't let it get to you because you're going to get a lot of rejections as a writer, and people are going to talk smack, and it's just you do you do your thing, and if people don't like it, then there's lots of other things in the world that they can like.
Mhm. Absolutely. Um, what is the most difficult part of your artistic process?
In the chair.
Yeah.
Just sitting down and just saying, okay, this is my writing time, I'm going for it, and just making that a regular thing. I find that difficult. Yeah, I mean, I've got some good tools though that help. I have this writing program that's called Alm Writer, and it takes everything off of your screen so you can't see like all your little windows at the bottom and your little email button at the bottom. And you can put on your headphones, and it comes with like sort of, I don't know, Japanese kind of meditation music. And it gives you little typewriter sounds as you type. It gives that old timey clickety click. So that I really like that tool because it completely blocks everything out if you're feeling super distracted.
Mhm.
So yeah, that'll be my fallback if I know that I really have to write and I just feel too distracted. But yeah, for me, it's distractions.
Yeah, I hear you. So, is there anything else that you'd like your readers to know about you or your writing? Anything?
um, well, I like to write in all different genres, not just gothic horror. I do. I mainly love to do historical fiction, but it'll go over several different eras. So right now, I'm working on a book that's set in ancient Rome, which is really fun. And I've done one set in the Depression. Where else? I can't remember now. But I like to visit different points in time.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for chatting with us, Melanie.
Sure, it was fun.
Yeah, and so I just want to remind our viewers that the Askew Creek Bookshop is at the Chemainus Public Market, and we're open every day except Mondays from 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. And we have many, many Vancouver Island authors that are part of this. So please come down, and all the people who work in the store are the authors. So there's always somebody there that can talk to you about writing and about the books in the shop. So hope to see you down there. And thanks again, Melanie. And we'll see you again soon.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.